arming your child's principal. Tonight, Arizona's Attorney General Tom Horne backed a plan to arm principals with a gun that could be used in an emergency like the horrific school shooting in Newtown, Connecticut. But are more guns in our schools really the answer? Out front tonight, CNN contributor Reihan Salam, who also writes for the National Review, political analyst Roland Martin.
Hey, how you doing?
Good to see you guys. All right, Reihan, first question to you. Is this just playing up to the NRA, or is this a plausible solution to stop school shootings, in your opinion?
It's certainly not a plausible solution, but the problem is that there are no plausible solutions. When you look at mass shootings, there's a guy called James Allen Fox, a criminologist at Northeastern University, wrote a great piece about this in which he was saying that the thing with mass shootings, these guys are determined. They plan well in advance to evade security measures. And so the idea from the right that you're going to arm police officials, you're going to have them at every school, that's going to solve the problem is false. And the idea on the left that you're going to eliminate guns, you're going to regulate them in such a way that you'll get rid of it, that's also false. The fact is that you have to look at the gun violence problem more broadly rather than fighting the last war.
Well, but there is a disconnect in this conversation we're having. I want to play for you guys a quote from Frank Luntz, famous conservative pollster, and here's what he had to say about the NRA's proposal last Friday.
The public wants guns out of the schools, not in the schools, and they're not asking for a security official or someone else. I don't think the NRA is listening. I don't think that they understand. Most Americans would protect the Second Amendment rights and yet agree with the idea that not every human being should own a gun.
So, first to you, where is that common sense ground from a Republican policy perspective? You're a proud policy wonk. What would that middle ground look like?
My personal view is that you have to focus on gun trafficking. We have a huge problem with the federal private sales loophole in this country, and the truth is that there are a lot of Republicans who have been very resistant to closing that loophole, and I think Republicans need to recognize that the Second Amendment and cracking down on illegal private sales both can happen at the same time. They need to move on that issue to be where the country is right now.
Ever since the Newtown shooting, I felt that this has been a one-dimensional conversation, that it has been solely based upon the whole issue of gun control. When to deal with it, I think you have to look at it from multiple directions. The problem, though, is that you have folks who want the quick fix. They want to be able to say, hey, we did something, it was so dramatic, you feel so much better, when that is not going to be the actual answer. It must be pieces. I hear people say, well, that's only 8 to 10%. Well, that's a piece, then another piece, another piece. That's how you actually go about it.
That's right. No, and Lyndon Johnson famously in 1968 pushed through legislation, but it's all a piece. But to your point, you know, these mass shootings, this horrific slaughter captures our attention. But I want to talk about the daily toll that occurs on our streets, because just in the last 5 days, since Wayne LaPierre gave his speech to the NRA, 8 uniformed first responders have been killed or wounded in the line of duty in the United States. That includes 3 state troopers during a shoot in Pennsylvania while LaPierre was giving the speech. 2 firefighters killed in Webster, New York, as you know, after being ambushed by a shooter with the same similar rifle that was used in Newtown. That same day in Houston, your hometown, a police officer was killed during a traffic stop. How come this steady toll doesn't keep our attention? Shouldn't it add some urgency to this debate?
Look, it's not even just the first responders. Of course, on my Sunday show, Washington Watch, I dealt with the issue that there had been, on average, dealing with black kids, a new town every 40 days in the last 2 years. When you take
say that again. That's a great stat.
Every 40 days, when you take the number of black kids who have been shot and killed across this country, there's been a new town every 40 days.
That's important.
We saw what happened with Chicago. Folks, yeah, okay, we're sort of used to it. What we must do is look at when you have a mass shooting. That focuses the attention and causes folks to say, have we been asleep at the wheel when it comes to these other issues? And we have. It is because, again, America, unfortunately, has to have a major issue to go, oh, now let's do something about it.
Yeah, I think Roland made a really profound point earlier when he said the problem is we always want a silver bullet. When there's a big thing like this, you want to pretend as though there's one magic bullet and then you're going to take care of the problem. Exactly. You have to have a comprehensive, smart approach that it could be piecemeal, but when you take a comprehensive approach, that's where you're more likely to get real results.
Quick take. I want your take on this. Journal News here in Westchester, New York, published an interactive map that had people with concealed carry weapons on their website. Now, That seems to me to be an invasion of privacy at the very least. Where do you come down on that?
Well, you know, a funny thing, also, you had folks who supported Proposition 8 in California who were also identified in a very similar manner, and then you had folks who were sending them harassing emails and what have you. This is not just about gun permits. There's a lot more transparency in our culture right now, and information is a lot more accessible. So this kind of thing is going to become more common, whether we like it or not.
I've been the editor. I've run 3 newspapers. I would not have done this. But let's keep in mind, these are public documents. We see stories done all the time. We talk about crime stats in certain areas. We talk about rapes. We talk about murder victims. Again, also, the census takes data and shows the concentration of certain things. And so when you have a public document, in this case, this is what you're going to see. That's what happens when you sign up for a handgun. It's a public document.
Well, this is an important civic debate we need to continue, not just in the wake of a massacre. Our third